share my experience with stigma and how just it impacted me personally. It's literally the reason why I am an advocate working in the field today. So I had a personal relationship with someone. My brother was deaf and gay and trans, and at one point, I didn't know that my brother was HIV positive. So I didn't find out until after his death, and it brought a lot of feelings. I was really upset that his status was kept from me for whatever reason. And I really began to kind of question things and just really trying to find out what happened. So I spent some time with his partner and with his friends, and from them, I learned that he just had so many barriers that he faced. There was a language barrier because he was deaf. There was a socioeconomic issue because of where he lived. He was judged because of the people he chose to hang out with or the way that he decided to dress. So all of these things just made it really hard for him to access care and for him to be accepted and feel loved in the community that he lived in. And so through that process, after his death, I really started educating myself about HIV, about stigma and what that really meant. I started going to therapy, and my therapist told me something that completely changed my life. And what she said was, being angry isn't helping anyone. You've got to do something with that anger. So I decided to turn my anger into advocacy. I started volunteering. I got involved where I could. I started learning. And eventually I found employment at an HIV clinic where I could work and serve. So because of my brother's experience, it is the reason why I do this work. It's the reason why I advocate hard in this community, so that folks don't have to feel like they have to give up, so that they know that they have at least one person that looks like them, that empathizes with them, that really just knows that regardless of race, religion, gender identity, who they decide to sleep with, who they love, socioeconomic status, level of education, that regardless of all of those things, that they have at least one person that cares for them and really does want the best possible outcome. Someone told me that fear and ignorance are the parents of stigma and a lot of other things: racism, sexism, homophobia, all the other isms. And that really resonates with me. I believe that having platforms like this where we can talk about it, where we can share with the community, are just vital to letting people know and informing people about stigma and how it relates to all of us.
HIV stigma has affected me in a very profound way, and that's partly why I chose to work in the HIV field. I had a family member who had been living with HIV for 9 years, but due to stigma and shame, she did not disclose to anyone, not even her close family members. And so we didn't find out about her diagnosis until she was hospitalized with end-stage HIV. And then at that point, there was nothing that we could do. And she passed away shortly thereafter, and she was only 35 years old at the time. And I was 38, and we were only 3 years apart. And it really had a profound effect on me. And the experience was really difficult for our family because we didn't know about her diagnosis until it was too late. So after working in this field for a while, I realized that it was because of HIV-related stigma that she felt she could not disclose her status after all those years. And it's just saddened me to know that she had to face her diagnosis alone, isolated, with no family support or other social support. And even though that was 14 years ago, her story is still not unique, because today so many people live in self-isolation and lack social support due to fear of rejection caused by HIV-related stigma. And when we think about stigma, stigma is very complex and multi-layered. Not only did my relative face external community stigma, but she also faced internalized stigma of negative thoughts and feelings about herself due to her status. And so internalized stigma is very common. In fact, I had read a report that said about 80% of people who are receiving HIV medical care report feelings of HIV-related internalized stigma. And so we know that stigma can also have a negative effect on people getting tested, assessing treatment, actually staying in care and remaining virally suppressed. And then there's this burden of intersectional stigma that we already have. Marginalized people already have stigmatized social identities such as race and ethnicity, gender and gender identity, sexual orientation, to name a few. And so it's this cumulative burden that of all these intersectional stigmas that can cause depression, isolation, and shame. And so we know that it can have a negative effect. And so what are some solutions? We can educate ourselves about the facts of HIV. We can be very mindful and intentional about how we engage, and to make sure that when we are discussing HIV, that we do it in a people first language, which puts the person before their diagnosis. We can break the silence around it. I know in my family and probably other families, I've had relatives who have living with HIV and we've never spoken about it. And so just talking openly about it. And then when we see someone not modeling positive behavior, calling them out and addressing it and taking action. And then lastly, just take the opportunities to participate in any community events, such as storytelling. That's an effective way to really combat stigma, to listen to women's and people's lived experiences, because it shows our common humanity and our collective experience.
Thank you for watching, and I hope that this inspires you on this National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day to get involved, think about stigma, think about solutions, tell us your stories, have conversations with each other, and maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Well, we appreciate y'all taking the time to look at this video. Hopefully y'all got something from it. If anything, like I said, it'll spark a personal conversation or a conversation amongst you and some peers or a couple of people you know. Just like some solutions, because I mean, it'd be a good conversation over some wine, or just a good conversation in general. But just something that you can come up with some solutions, and if not just for yourself, but just for your environment too, or like your work environment. You know what I'm saying? Community environment. Just something, if you can think of something, hopefully, this video maybe spark something. I'm Marquise, and this is Kurt, and thank y'all for your time.